Hello and welcome back. So let's move on. One lesson more. This time I'm going to talk about this structure. Verbo haver, preposition de, plus the infinitive. This is a structure that we teach on level A2. That's why I'm here teaching and talking about this content. However, I have to be honest with you, this is a content that, in my opinion, it's not so important because we don't use this structure very often, okay? What we use all the time, it's the verb haver when you conjugate it for the third person of the singular. So ela, você, há. And as you know, há, the translation is there is or there are. Or we can also use há as a time expression, right? So we can use há like ago. An example, eu fui à praia há 3 dias. I went to the beach 3 days ago. Or we also use há as a time expression with the value of for. An example, eu estudo português há 2 anos. I've been studying Portuguese for 2 years. This that I just told you, it's A1 content. I'm just reminding you that this a, it's something that we spoke about on level A1, and it's really important, the third person of the singular. The difference, and what I'm telling you now, is that the rest of the conjugation, and you can find here for the first time the rest of the conjugation. So eu hei, tu hás, then ele há, nós havemos, and eles hão. So the rest of the conjugation, hei, hás, havemos, and hão, it's something that we don't use much. I think honestly that I use the rest of the conjugation maybe once per year, 2 times per year. So I think it's important for you to understand what's happening. It's important for you to receive this information, but it's definitely not one of those grammar contents that is essential. I don't think it's essential, okay? And I'm passing this information for you because, as you know, while I'm teaching this language, I always give my opinion about which grammar content are super important and which parts of the grammar content it's not so essential, and this is one of them, okay? Anyway, when do you use this structure, haver de plus infinitive, haver de plus infinitive? We use it to talk about this. É usado para exprimir, so it's used to express intenção or convicção, an intention or conviction about the future, em relação ao futuro. So we use this structure to talk about something that's we have an intention or a conviction to do about the future. But but in fact, we tend to use this more often when we're talking about intentions that we have about the future, but usually about things that are very unlikely to happen. So it's like a very weak intention or a very weak conviction of something about the future. An example, dia tu hás de visitar a minha cidade. So one day, and the translation for this has to be just like the future. You will visit my city. Now you're asking yourself, okay, so why don't you use future there if the translation is just like the future? I could also say, dia tu vais visitar a minha cidade. And if I'm just using the future, again, dia tu vais visitar, as you know, vais visitar is just future tense. It's the structure that you use for the future. So if I'm using the future, the structure that you use for the future, vais visitar, it means that there is a high probability that, in fact, one day you'll visit my city. But if I'm using this structure, dia tu hás de visitar a minha cidade, it's like a weak conviction about something that it might happen. Maybe it might happen, but it's not very unlikely to happen in the future. Okay? More examples that we have here. Dia eu hei de ganhar o totoloto. So one day I will win the lottery. Do you think this will happen? it's highly unlikely to happen, okay? Once again, if instead of hei de ganhar o Totoloto, if I'm gonna use, or if I'm using the future, like dia eu vou ganhar o Totoloto, and vou ganhar is just future tense, as you know. If that's the case, I have a stronger conviction that that will happen at some point in the future. But if instead of vou, instead of dia eu vou ganhar o Totoloto, if I switch that for dia eu hei de ganhar o Totoloto, just because I'm using this structure, it means that it's very unlikely to happen, okay? So, and this is how we usually use this structure. Once again, to talk about things that are unlikely to happen in the future. They are a possibility. Um, they can, I will agree with this. We use it when we want to express an intention or a conviction about something that it might happen in the future, but it's about something that is unlikely to happen in the future. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you to take your time, uh, write down here 4 sentences using this structure. Once again, 4 sentences about things that it might happen in the future, but they are unlikely to happen in the future. And then, so take your time, pause this video, complete, write down these 4 sentences, and then please come back because I'm going to show you my sentences and you can compare my sentences with your sentences, okay? All right, so let's check. For the second one, tu, what do I have here? Tu has de ir ao Japão. So, one day you will go to Japan. So again, if instead of dia tu has de ir ao Japão, if with future tense, like dia tu vais ao Japão, vais ao Japão would be a much stronger conviction about this idea than dia tu has de ir ao Japão. Third one, dia ele há de ter Ferrari. So one day he will have a Ferrari. Unlikely to happen. Once again, dia ele vai ter Ferrari would show a stronger conviction about something that could happen in the future. And then, dia nós havemos de comprar palácio. One day we will buy a palace. Again, dia tu vais, dia nós vamos comprar palácio. Again, future tense would show a much stronger conviction about this idea. And the last one, dia eles hão de ser ricos. So one day they will be rich. Again, with future tense, like dia eles vão ser ricos, this would show a much stronger conviction about this idea. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I'll see you shortly.